Welcome to the ODDSBREAKER'S number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
All right, welcome back to podcast 23 of 2020. Jordan. This episode is being sponsored by mybookie.ag for a 50% sign-up bonus. Please visit MyBookie and use the promo code TheOddsBreakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the podcast, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member for $17.99 a month. You can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If you'd like to make any donations, you can do that through Patreon. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. The NFL draft is tomorrow or today, depending upon when you're listening to this podcast. So hopefully we can bring you some good value. Going to recap all of our free plays that we did the last 3 podcasts and find a few more. So before we get into the recap, I want to give you the agenda for next week. I'm going to recap the draft for sure. Kind of go over what teams I thought did well, what teams I thought didn't. You know, might give them some grades. I mean, so many people do that. It's not that big of a deal. But I guess if you fill some holes and get some great players, you get some, obviously, some very good grades. So that's what it's all about. It's trying to build a complete football team here. But we're going to also cover the Arkansas Derby, which has become pretty big because the Kentucky Derby was supposed to be next weekend, and there's going to be some people ready to play some horses, and the field's going to be really good because there's a lot of big names going into this track at Oaklawn. So real excited for that as well. But the draft is upon us, and I want to rank a few of the skill positions, kind of where I think best to worst is. And I'll start right with wide receiver. So a lot of people have CeeDee Lamb or Jetty as their number 1 and number 2 guys, right? 6'2", CeeDee Lamb, 6'1", Jetty, I think with spikes on, but anyways. And, they did great with their teams. Alabama was a force, and he was the best receiver there. And CeeDee Lamb, obviously, that offense just hummed with CeeDee Lamb. And you can tell when he was out a little bit that it wasn't nearly what it was before. But at the same time, when it comes to the pros, I don't think their 40 times was quite there for me. And when I look at a guy that says pro written all over him, I think it's Denzel Mims because he's taller. He's at 6'3". He ran a sub 440. I believe it was like 4.36 or something like that. I believe it was second or third fastest. And he scored well on the other the cone drill and vertical jump and everything. So he's that receiver, I think, that could make the biggest difference at the next level. Now, they said that he dropped a lot of balls his junior year, but I've also have known that he had a broken hand his junior year at Baylor. So he was a key to Baylor's success there, and for Matt Rule, possibly helped him get promoted to the Carolina job. So Mims is my first. My second is different too, because my second is from Clemson, and his name is T. Higgins. So T. Higgins was just absolutely fantastic. If you remember the championship from 2019, where Clemson beat Alabama and won it all. And obviously Lawrence was fantastic, but T. Higgins just caught some amazing balls, and the guy is elastic. He's 6'4", 216. Okay, he runs the same speed 40 as CeeDee Lamb. But I just seen this guy in action, and he can do it all, in my opinion. So he is number 2. Number 3 for me is CeeDee Lamb, actually, from Oklahoma. Now, 6'2", 198. 40 was a little slower, around 4.5. They say he's a little bit faster than that, around mid 4.4s. But what he did for Oklahoma, he's got the hands. He's a great route runner, and you've seen everything he's done there. It's absolutely fantastic. He takes it to the next level. When he gets the ball, he's thinking end zone. Jerry Jetty's pretty much the same, and he's right under him. 6'1", 193. I have Jetty next in my rankings, and then I believe I have actually Pittman. I have Pittman from USC. Michael Pittman is 6'4", 223. I think he's one of those possession receivers that's going to turn out great in the NFL. And so I like him there. And then I have Ruggs after him. Now, Ruggs is the fastest guy, but he's 5'11", 188 soaking wet. And I don't think his routes were the greatest. And I think there's a chance he could turn out like John Ross, which hasn't really done anything in the NFL. There's some bust potential there, but there's also some extreme upside, right? Some people say he's got the chance to be like Tyreek Hill. So some notable mentions. I really like Tyler Johnson from Minnesota. I really do. I think he did a fantastic job out there. One of the big reasons that they had such a big year, and he's big. He seems to catch everything himself, and he carried that team. 6'1", 206. Really like Tyler Johnson. I also like KJ Hamler from Penn State. He's a little shorter. He's kind of like a Percy Harvin type guy. 5'9", but pretty light, 178, but he's kind of a burner himself. And also Jalen Reagor from TCU is 5'11". He's pretty fast. Didn't do that well in the combine, but you've seen him on the field plenty of times. He's fast, but wide receiver stack. You got Van Jefferson from Florida. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan. Didn't even talk about Chenault or Ayuk, and Justin Jefferson from LSU. He's right up there too. He just doesn't. He caught everything for LSU. Now, is that just how good the LSU offense was, or is that how good Justin Jefferson was? I don't know. But I wouldn't have a problem if you take Justin Jefferson 7th or 8th overall receiver there. Some people have him in the top 4. So really like Justin Jefferson too. But this whole field is stacked. Chase Claypool from Notre Dame. Just absolutely stacked. John Hightower from Boise State. There's so many receivers. Let's move on to my running backs, and I think it's pretty obvious of all the Twitter and everything I've been talking about the last podcast that I have Jonathan Taylor ahead of everybody else because his fantastic combine, his weight, his speed. He's got NFL written all over him if he can just stop fumbling the ball. Number 2, I actually have J.K. Dobbins. He's a few inches taller than DeAndre Swift. And I just like the way he handles the ball. He handles himself. He coming from Ohio State, he's did an absolutely fantastic job there. And DeAndre Swift's pretty close, but I think J.K. Dobbins has a little bit more upside. I also like Swift. He's right there with J.K. Dobbins at number 3. To be honest with you, I wouldn't necessarily, unless you really need a running back, I wouldn't necessarily take a shot at one of these guys in the top 20 picks. Not even sure if I would take any of them in the first round, and that's only because Taylor's fumbles. If he did fumble, then I'd probably have him around the same prospect as a Saquon Barkley. But the fumbles kill it, and hopefully he gets rid of that. The next one I have Fourth would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU. Like him a lot. I like Zach Moss from Utah. Then I have Cam Akers from Florida State. Eno Benjamin from Arizona State. Anthony McFarland from Maryland. And then it kind of just dissipates from there. It's kind of just like take a shot. But that's where I have for my running back rankings. Quarterback last, and definitely not least, Joe Burrow for sure. Number one, and used to have Tua as my number one, but Burrow isn't necessarily that we know is injury prone. Tua is a little bit more injury prone now that we found that out, and I think that's a big risk when it comes to the next level, but it's not that big of a deal where I think he's going to be healthy actually coming into this next season, but it's not as big as a deal as where it's going to really drop him any lower, because that's where I'm pretty strong at him at number two. Number three, I actually have Jake Fromm from Georgia. I don't know why he fell so bad, but the kid's a leader, and I think he carried that Georgia team a couple years. In my opinion, Kirby Smart might have hurt him a little bit more than helped him. I think he's going to make more of an impact than people think in the pros. Totally my opinion. Might be wrong, but I like him more than Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert I have as a number 4, and I think he needs some work. He was kind of hot and cold during the season. He can definitely see downfield. He's a big guy, which is great. He's hard to get down. He can run the ball a little bit too, but the whole inconsistency I didn't like. And then I have Jordan Love at number 5. So Jordan Love, number 5, he's got a lot of work to do. Had a terrible year at Utah State, in my opinion, but he's got some serious upside because the NFL is going towards that kind of power offense where Love can, he's got threat of his legs. He can run and then dump it off. He can also throw it downfield a little bit too. So kind of like him. The next one, I suppose I would have Jacob Eason from Washington. He didn't really impress me all that much. Next one would be Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma. I have him down a little bit just because I think that there's reasons that Bama dropped him for Tua. I think he can be really hot and cold too, and I'm not sure if he can always throw the seam route really that well. I think a lot of the stuff was also the threat of his legs, in my opinion. So that's where you have it. The rest of them, I won't even draft in the top 5 rounds. I might take a shot with like Nate Stanley or something in the 6th or 7th round. Maybe like a Luton or something from Oregon State real late. Maybe Steven Montez or something. But definitely nothing to get too excited about. So there you go. That's my quarterback and wide receiver and running back rankings. So kind of filters into how I played the draft. So let's recap what we've done so far in the first 3 NFL draft podcasts. All right, for this recap, I will try to find where the line is at. Right now, some of them moved in favor of our play, and some of them didn't. So let's see which ones they're out there. We started playing early, obviously. The first one we played was in March 19th, over a month ago. Total offensive line plus 110 we took. It's more offensive line picks than defensive line. Defensive line at that time was minus 140. Well, we were on the right side of that one because offensive line moved all the way up to like minus 250, and now it's off the board at BetOnline. Like I said, offensive line is a huge need for some teams. Chargers, Cardinals, Jaguars, Jets, Giants, Kansas City, Detroit, Cleveland. they all need offensive linemen. Chicago and Cincy, if they traded back as well. A few other teams are projected offensive line, like Tampa Bay and stuff like that, which I disagree for them, but it's projected anyways. All right, let's see what the next one is. And the next one was a premium play, but not a shared premium play, but I can give it to you since the line moved on it so much. The Big Ten has more first-round picks than Alabama, and I took that at minus 180. And right now, it is at minus 240. So it was actually higher than that. It was at minus 270, but now it's at minus 240, and the Alabama players is locked. So I find that interesting, a little bit of a lock. And I'm looking at BetOnline, where we made some of the comments, obviously, from the last 3 podcasts. This was the book that was offshore, most accessible to all of you, that comes out with the lines very early. So it did move in the direction, but it's kind of moving back a little bit. But we have some value there at the minus 180. Next one, and that was a 3-star premium play. The next play that we gave out was on March 23rd, NFL draft. We looking at the wide receivers here, and I am not in love with this one. This one did not move my way, and I went with number of wide receivers drafted in the first round under 5.5. And if you remember, the reason I said it would be under was because there was only 2 receivers drafted in the first round the year before in 19, 2 receivers in 18, 3 receivers in 17. So people realize that receivers do not move the needle. I mean, Nelson Aguilar was the most recent first-round receiver to win a Super Bowl, but before that was Marvin Harrison all the way back in 2006. And they just don't seem to move the needle for teams. So I thought that this class is so stacked, like I went over earlier, that there's no way that a team's going to grab one in the first round. For me, it's kind of like this. If you're one of 15 people and you're stuck on a desert island and there's a 100 coconuts and 50 kiwis and let's just say 10 watermelons, and you all get your turn to pick what you want. Are you going to go for the coconuts? Or are you going to go for the watermelon? I mean, it's that obvious. Now, obviously, a lot of people say, well, these receivers are so good, maybe you got to grab one anyway. Well, I don't see a Julio Jones out here. Okay. And I didn't like the combine results. So, unfortunately, these GMs could be clueless enough to not want to take one in the third round instead. Maybe like a Chase Claypool, a Tyler Johnson, a Brian Edwards, a Michael Pittman, a KJ Hamler. Hell, Hamler could be awesome. Instead they'll waste a first round pick on somebody that might not turn out. So that's always possible. So in my opinion, unfortunately, these GMs might screw me over, pick over 6 or over wide receivers in the first round. And now it's at plus 120. So if you like it still, you can get a little bit better odds than I did. So if the GMs do screw me over, I'm going to be saying next one. This one was a premium play on April 5th. 2 of them I gave out. One was to just premium subscribers and one was to both. Now, I can talk about the Henry Ruggs one because the odds moved significantly in our favor. We took Henry Ruggs will be over the 13.5 pick, meaning 14 or over, right? So we got this at plus 115, and now it's at minus 190. So the spread moved significantly. Do I like it at minus 190? I mean, I think it's going to happen, but it makes the value of it certainly a lot less if it doesn't, right? Laying minus 190. I guess I would give it out as free play to you because I really do think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be easy to like fall to 15 or 21 or something like that, in my opinion. But either way, that one moved in our direction. It was 1.5 star premium play. And then I took a crazy long shot on the first wide receiver drafted, and I went just a half star on it, so probably miss out on this one, but at least the Ruggs one will make up for it, and then some. The first wide receiver drafted, I took the field, and that was at plus 3,300 or 33 to 1. Well, now that's at 40 to 1. And the reason I did is because, from what I said before, the closest thing to Julio Jones is Mims, and I actually like T. Higgins better than the rest of the guys. So, in my opinion, those are the two best, but all the draft analysts have the Bama guys first, and then they have the Oklahoma guy right there as well. So it's probably not going to happen, but I like the 33 to 1 odds. And if it does happen, I will be pretty happy. Now, the next one was on April 6th, and this one moved against my favor, and I bet on Jalen Hurts. I thought that he was going to be picked in the later rounds, 4 through 7. Well, I got plus 350. Which I thought was some value, but now it's at plus 750. So if you like it, it's at plus 750 right now. Round 2 or 3, round 2 is minus 145 and round 3 is plus 175. In my opinion, he's a bit of a gamble. He'll work hard and he'll definitely play hard, but I don't think he's consistent enough to be in NFL football. Now, where I went wrong is that teams are moving towards that power offense that Jalen Hurts can do. But at the same time, if you're not that accurate and you're really hot and cold, you kind of do things on the fly yourself. I'm not so sure if he reads defenses all that great. Is that the guy you want to take a chance on? I don't know. Some of the people said the same thing about Lamar, and I probably said some of the same things about Lamar Jackson was completely wrong. But Lamar Jackson stuck out a lot more to me as a very good quarterback, more than Jalen Hurts. So I thought that he would be a project, but apparently it's probably going to be wrong. And I went small on it. I went 1 star. No, I went 1 star, which was usually on a plus money bet of plus 250 or higher. I rarely do a star like that, but I felt pretty strongly about that. So I was wrong as far as where the odds moved on this play. The next one we made was we made one on April 10th, and the odds moved in our favor, and it was just a premium play, so I can go over it with you. I bet Jordan Love is drafted higher than 19.5th pick, right? So 20 or higher, and I got it at minus 130. It was a 2-star premium play. Just about Love's stock going down a lot. He's going to be a project too. 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, only a 62% completion percentage. So I predict him going down, and I think I'm right about it. It's at minus 200 now on Bet Online for Jordan Love. And, he might not even be the third quarterback drafted. I think it's going to be Herbert. He's at minus 170, and he plus 750 for him to be the third one drafted. So that one kind of has left the building, in my opinion. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. No, it's at minus 270 now, actually. It was at minus 200 this morning. That thing moved to minus 270, so a lot of people were hitting that thing. So really glad that we gave that out to premium subscribers at minus 130. All right, so the last one that we gave out to the public was the one that we just podcast about with the Houston Texans. First pick will be a defensive player at minus 145, 2-star premium shared play, and took a long shot with Tampa defensive player at plus 250 at 0.5 star premium shared play. Now, everyone's got Tampa picking a lineman. I just saw someone getting them a receiver. I still think their secondary, when they had such a good pass rush last year and gave up the third most yards, it is a terrible thing to bypass here. I think you trade down and get secondary first. But, hey, if they want to protect Brady, they're going to go with an offensive lineman. But I like the shot at plus 250, so I took that at 0.5 star. And I really do think the Texans do pick a defensive player at minus 145. And as a matter of fact, that has moved to minus 170. So that's moved in favor of our direction here. Let's see where the Tampa one is. And Tampa is actually moved in our favor at plus 200 as well. We got it at plus 250. So there you go. Let's see if that thing comes into fruition here. So that's the first 3 draft podcast plays that we were able to share with you. There's a few more in there, obviously, just for premium subscribers. All right. Well, let's move on to some of the new lines out here. And we do actually have a couple new plays for you. And there might be more coming in tomorrow, and I'll try to tweet 1 or 2 out if I can. Just follow us at the Odds Breakers, please. And maybe we'll be able to find some more value. More information is going to come out tomorrow for sure. So you're going to see some serious moves here. So I think some of these props here are funny. Are they going to mention Andrew Thomas played in his high school band? No is minus 250. Yes is minus 170. Well, if you're a real degenerate, you'll try to tweet ESPN and tell them that Andrew Thomas played in his high school band and send them some pictures and stuff like that and try to move the odds in your favor. Or you can just not bet it at all like me. So I'm going to pass on that one. And there's a bunch of them like this. Highest number in the same room, over 9.5, is minus 145. I'm pretty sure Chase Young said he's already invited 10 people over, so I'm not gonna. I wonder how much criticizing they're gonna get when people are sitting there counting people for social distancing in one room. But at the same time, I bet a lot of these guys aren't going to be family anyway, and I bet a lot of these guys weren't necessarily social distancing. So that's an interesting one. How many draftees will be seen in a tie? Over 20.5 is plus 200. Under 20.5 is minus 300. Yeah, give me the minus in that one. People are going to be sitting at home. I think it'd be kind of weird to put on a tie. I think a couple guys will, but yeah, I'll take under 20.5 minus 300. Now I didn't bet it, but I probably should. How many draftees will have glasses on? Under 10.5 is minus 260. I don't know why you'd wear glasses, reading glasses, sunglasses. Maybe if you're outside and you're having a party or something, maybe you would have glasses on. So this is the first time this has happened. Probably enough for me to stay away from this one. Total cats shown during the first round. Over 1 cat is minus 150. Under 1 cat is plus 110. Don't want to mess with this one. Don't know a ton about cats, but I know that Tiger King Netflix show has been pretty big, so maybe they're going to have some sort of cat or cat theme going on at one of these houses. Same thing with dogs. Dogs is a prop too. I think it's like 3.5 dogs, not even messing with it. Then there's like the whole hug thing. Who's the number 1 overall pick going to hug first? Mom is always the winner at minus 165. Dad plus 300. Girlfriend plus 300. Sibling plus 900. Friend plus 1100. Guess who he's standing next to? So hopefully you get a shot of who you think he's going to be sitting next to or standing next to, and maybe you can just fire on that one a little bit late. Maybe they won't pull that one off the board. So something to be thinking about there. Well, any draftee pop champagne. It was at minus 700, and now it's at minus 600. So maybe some people are betting the yes. Who knows? Move that sucker down a little bit. Will NFL draft be hacked? No is minus 1,800. I'm thinking no as well. If Not sure how much your fantasy football gets drafted, or gets hacked, but I don't see where a hacker can benefit from hacking a draft. It's not like money is being transacted as people are drafting. Something you can get some serious trouble for you. So, those are some of the prop bets, and different sites have different prop bets up. If you like one, please tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Would love to hear it for sure. All right, so it goes back into some of the research we've already done. Will the, Tennessee Titans take a offensive or defensive pick? So it does that with all the teams. We already talked about why I find more value in the defense because it's more quantifiable on the last podcast, and quarterbacks are usually pretty known. So that's why they're always minus 1,000 for those teams that'll probably draft a quarterback. Not a ton of value there for me. I already made my plays from there. One thing that I did notice today that happened, well, not just today, over the last few days. So you got the Miami Dolphins picking 5th, right? And you have the Los Angeles Chargers picking 6th. Lots of speculation that they both want Tua. Then they try to throw curveballs and act like they didn't. But I'm hearing it makes a ton of sense for the Chargers because they need a new face for that franchise. They're just renting a stadium right now in LA. They need to get some fans there. Hawaii's, still 5-hour flight away, 5-6 hours. I've done it a few times, but it's not nearly as bad as like Tua fans flying to Alabama, So they're really thinking that the Chargers could kick off their franchise with Tua, and I don't see why not. I think it's kind of a good fit there, right? So I see them possibly fighting for it, but I see Miami fighting for it too because they passed on Drew Brees once because of his injuries, and it happened to be one of the dumbest mistakes they've ever made. So there's a chance there's going to be a fight about this. Now, here's where this is significant here. Tua is at plus money in draft spot 3 and draft spot 4, right? So, as a matter of fact, he's now locked out of the 3rd overall pick for draft position. And when I gave this out, this was at plus 450. Now it's at plus 250. Just a couple hours. Where is Tua, or when is Tua going to be selected? I think that the reason the Dolphins were looking at moving up to the 3rd pick is because San Diego could move up to the 4th pick. Well, they could move up to the 3rd pick also, but Dave Gettleman tried to play some BS and say he started interviewing Herbert from Oregon, and then he starts talking about trading down. He's like, well, maybe I'll move up and maybe I'll take Herbert. Trying to play that card. It's like, well, if you were trying to pick Herbert, why are you offering to trade down? It's like you're not going to do that, especially when you completely overdrafted your quarterback from last year in Daniel Jones. Completely overdrafted him. You're not going to embarrass yourself. Hell no. So what a stupid front that is. But besides that, and it's kind of like I said about the Giants last year, it's like they still got an awesome defensive guy last year in Dexter Lawrence. You could have flip-flopped him because I had Dexter Lawrence as a top 3 pick anyway, right? So even it's same situation here. Gettleman still can trade. Even though his rationale of trying to faking teams out was absolutely stupid and very easy to call his bluff.
Unreal.
It still doesn't mean that he's going to stay at pick 4. He's still selling it. It doesn't matter, right? So the Dolphins are trying to play the same ridiculous games, acting like they're going to move up for an offensive lineman. because they were interviewing an offensive lineman at the last minute. I can't remember who it is, but that's besides the point. But why would they move from pick 5 to pick 3 for an offensive lineman when they're not even projected to start going until the 7th or 8th pick in the entire draft? So it just absolutely doesn't make sense to me. And I find it quite comical that they try to act like they're doing something absolutely stupid in order to lure another team in. Now, I guess maybe they've dealt with the Bears long enough where this kind of shit works. But in general, the draft analysts and most of the fans, most of the people on Twitter I see, can see right through that smokescreen. So what I'm seeing here is the Dolphins think that the Chargers are going to move up to spot 4, possibly for Gettleman's spot, to pick Tua away from them. So they're actually going to move up to 3. Now, here's the good news, right? The Lions are going to be prone to do it, and I don't think that they're going to need that much of a payback because they're still going to get Okudah where they're projected to get him anyway at the 5th or 6th position, right? Nobody's going to take a cornerback yet. So they're fine with trading down and possibly picking up the 26th pick in the draft, which is the Dolphins actually their 3rd first-round pick, or possibly somebody in the 2nd round, depending upon how this negotiation goes. So great news that happens. Now, if the Dolphins don't take that chance, there's a very good chance that the Chargers are going to move ahead of the Dolphins and take Gettleman's pick at number 4. Gettleman said he's open for business and ready to move down. The Giants can easily get Isaiah Simmons if they want him in the 5th position or the 6th position, and they could easily get that offensive lineman that they need too. So Miami might even just want to cockblock old Chargers and move up to 4th anyway if the Lions aren't ready to deal. It might almost be a bidding war. It might be a bidding war between the Dolphins and the Chargers. And imagine if that happens. Well, first of all, the Lions would certainly miss out because they should be cheaper to do this. And I think that's why you see this drop from plus 450 to plus 250 because they can get Okudah anyway. And I think that if it goes past the Lions, then it can get really expensive, and Gettleman's going to have a lot of cards to play here. I find that very interesting. So, very good chance that he gets picked 3 or 4. So I took plus 450 for a third of a unit that he gets picked 3rd, and I took plus 850 that Tua gets picked 4th. So really excited to watch how these lines move for tomorrow. Hopefully this turns out to be correct. So be really exciting if you're already starting to hit your picks by the 3rd pick or by the 4th pick of the NFL draft. All right, so here's my last play for this podcast here. Going back to Arizona, we're looking at the Cardinals here, and the prop is for Arizona's first pick is going to be an offensive or defensive player. Okay, so offensive players minus 180 and defensive players plus 140. Well, I'm going to be taking the minus 180 at 1.5 stars. Now, here's why. Look at most of the mock drafts. They have Arizona taking an offensive line, and I totally agree. They need an offensive line to protect Kyle Murray. Now, their defense did suck last year. They're terrible. But they addressed a lot of that in the offseason. You know, they actually were able to sign some free agents. They got Jordan Phillips from Buffalo, 3 years, $30 million. It's a big one. 14.5 guaranteed. They got Devin Kennard at outside linebacker, 3 years, $20 million. They got Devondre Campbell, outside linebacker from Atlanta. 1 year, $6 million. You know, got rid of some dead weight. They definitely made some good moves there. So I think because of that, because of Jordan Phillips coming in, because of Devin Kennard coming in, they are going to go with that offensive lineman. They want to keep Kyler Murray up straight. They just got a good quarterback. Their offensive line wasn't that good. Now they need to invest in him a little bit. I think the only way that this doesn't go is if for somehow Okudah falls down to that 8th pick of the draft, but I don't think that's going to happen because the Cardinals really need secondary as well. Patrick Peterson's on his final year of his deal. He can be traded for all we know. But I think they're going to get that later. Marcus Gilbert was injured all year at lineman, so he's injury prone. He had an ACL repairs. They're getting him back, but they still need more depth at that offensive tackle position. So that's what they have, and I'd like it at minus 180 here. My up to buy price would be minus 220. So that's where I'm at on that one. All right. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Have a fantastic draft. Watch out for my tweets in case I find a couple more plays. Love to hear from you as well. And remember, go get some winners.